Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Olha Otomanova, and Ukraine Media Center Current Form continues its operation today. It's day 373 of the full-scale invasion of Russian occupiers in our homeland, and now we will be talking about the situation in Sumy region. Joining us online is Taras Savchenko, acting military governor of Sumy region. Good afternoon, Mr. Taras. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, Mr. Taras. Based on the reports of our general staff, we see that the Russians incessantly keep shelling the Sumy region territories. So what's going on there? What's the situation today, and what is the aftermath of such strikes? Well, really, you are right. Sumy region unfortunately has the longest border with the aggressor state, and all of our communities along the border, it's 15 of them in total, they suffered day-to-day shellings. The shellings intensified within the last couple of days, and yesterday there was a sad record set with 27 shellings with more than 170 projectiles in total. The enemy used cannon, artillery, mortars, MLRS, and even tanks. Fortunately, yesterday we finished the day without casualties or injured among the civil population. However, the infrastructure suffers heavily. Yesterday there was a mass destruction of residential buildings in a number of communities of Sumy region, Esmivska, Novhorodska, and others. There was destruction of a department store and an office of agricultural company. We will rebuild all of it, but what's main thing for us is that yesterday there were no casualties among civil population. Mr. Taras, what's going on with the critical infrastructure operation in the region? What's going on with water supply, power supply, and so on? Well, the situation is stable as to the power supply. We work within the joint power grid of the nations, so when the situation improved in Ukraine generally around a month ago, the situation respectively became better in Sumy region too. Within the last month, all of our consumers receive enough electric power. And talking about the reconstruction of the damaged critical infrastructure along the border, frequently it happens so that the shellings result in damage of the electric power aerial electric power lines, but they are not mainway lines, and they are being repaired within hours. Fortunately, there is no critical destruction of other elements of infrastructure within the last couple of weeks, other than that those I mentioned. You mentioned the yesterday's anti-record in terms of shellings. Don't you relate it to the incident that happened yesterday in Bryansk region of Russia? And after yesterday's story, what's going on in the border? Do you observe any changes? Well, as to the causes of shellings, I guess there's a number of causes. The shellings intensified maybe a month ago when the enemy intensified their actions, combat actions in the east of our country, and one of the reasons for those shellings is to keep some parts of our forces in the border with Sumy region. And due to the incident that happened yesterday, probably the aggressor just draws some picture for their propaganda channels and intensifies the shellings of the areas along the border, including Sumy region, but the situation is generally under control. The spirit of our military and civil population is high, and there are no strike forces concentration in the territory of Russian Federation on the border with Sumy region. At least we got no such reports from our military. We have questions in the studio, please, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, Mr. Taras. You just assumed the office recently. Have you set some tasks for yourself that require prompt solutions? Thank you very much for this question. I think that my key task is to get the passionate part of the population of the region together to understand and create the vision of the future of the Sumy region, and to mobilize the people so they work and fight for the future of the Sumy region. I mean, we are one of the first regions in Ukraine who developed and implemented the strategy for the economic reconstruction of the region. For example, yesterday we signed a memorandum with USAID, the organization which provides not only humanitarian and economic support, but for me the key thing is that Sumy region, as an area close to the border, is populated with people who fulfill all their tasks, their vision in terms of reconstruction. And I would like to focus your attention on the fact that Sumy region fights for its future, for its European future, and we call all the rest of the country to perceive Sumy region not only as a region along the border with Russia, but someone who fights for their freedom, for their future, and the future of whole Ukraine. We're talking about the short-term plans for the reconstruction and rebuilding. What are they? Well, I would like to say that during the period of intensification of the armed conflict, we had more than 4,800 facilities and installations damaged, and out of them we reconstructed already a third of them. Our priority are the bridges. We repaired already 9 out of 16 damaged and destroyed. We do it where it's feasible, first of all for the military. Other priority for reconstruction is the apartment blocks. Unfortunately, for the time being, we don't have neither time nor resources to systemically rebuild the private houses. We have more than 2,500 residential private houses destroyed, and also where it's possible we rebuild the medical institutions. More than 30 of them were damaged. Also, the priorities are social infrastructure and other institutions which provide services to the population. Those are the priorities we work on. As I mentioned, around 1/3 of the damaged installations were already repaired, and now we prepare the project documentation and we prepare for the construction season. We coordinate our plans with the ministries, with Alexander Kubrakov, who is the curator of this work as the Vice Prime Minister. We prepare for the construction season and we set our priorities for the season. It will be around 100 installations in different economic areas. They will include educational institutions, social institutions, infrastructure and apartment blocks, power infrastructure. Now we've finalized the project documentation for all those installations and prepare for the construction season. We're talking about the communities located along the border with the aggressor. We understand that, diplomatically speaking, the challenges are a bit different there rather than in those which are remote from the border. So what are the challenges faced by those communities which suffer from constant shelling? Sumy region includes 51 communities, including 15 those along the border. So the shellings are in the depth up to 10 kilometers. It's very rarely when the shellings go beyond those 10 kilometers depth. So all the communities along the border, they are the warfare areas according to the Ukrainian regulations, and we are constantly in touch with the governors of those communities. We work with the population there. Fortunately, there are no big settlements on the depth of 5 kilometers from the border. They're just small settlements or small villages, and all the citizens who wanted to leave, they were supported in their aspirations, but some just remain there, and we understand them. It's their right to stay at their homes, to maintain their households, and we treat such people with respect. All the educational institutions in the depth of 20 kilometers from the border, they work in remote education format. We had some medical institutions there which were evacuated in the depth of the territory of Sumy region. Thank you for this information, Mr. Taras. I'm reminding you, joining us was Taras Savchenko, acting military governor of Sumy region, and our next briefing is at 14 o'clock, and joining us will be Andriy Vitrenko, first deputy minister of education of Ukraine. We will be talking about special professional education during martial law, so bear with us. Trust in our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine.